everyone, it's Sirius back here again with another video. Today we will be looking at the question from the 2017 paper 3, question 8 for the combined chemistry part. Alright, so let us take a look at the question. You will need the following information to identity C. Compound C has the general formula of XCl2. X represents a metal in a group 2 of the periodic table. Relative atomic masses AR of the following elements are given as such. And then now we can proceed to solve this a very typical kind of, I would say, a puzzle type question in the O-level paper. Alright, so how do we go about solving this question? So we will have to identify what are the different unknown compounds here in this question, A, B, C, D, and E. So let us take a look. In this question, I will probably take a look at substance C first, right? Because it mentioned that the MR of substance C is actually 159, and this belongs to XCl2. So right away we can actually identify what X is, because we know that Cl2 is just 35.5 times 2, right? Plus X, giving you a total of 159. So just moving around the different values, we can then determine that X will then be 88. Okay, and if you look up into the periodic table of the element with a MR of 88, that will actually be strontium, right? Strontium. And so your compound C will therefore be strontium chloride. Alright, so here we can start to solve the first unknown, which is your strontium chloride. Now we will solve the next unknown, and D looks simple because since adding HCl to B to give strontium chloride and an unknown D, recall your acid equation, right? Your acid plus your metal carbonate, right? Your acid plus metal carbonate will provide you with your salt plus CO2 plus H2O. Hence, in this case, your salt, as we just solved, is your strontium chloride. That will leave your colorless gas D as your carbon dioxide. And it is further proven by bubbling this into lime water that gives a white precipitate. Alright, so your unknown D will then be your carbon dioxide. Having said that, we will be able to solve E as well, because we do know that lime water is your calcium hydroxide, and if we were to add your carbon dioxide in, you will form your white precipitate, which is your calcium carbonate. Alright, so we can then solve for E as well, which is your calcium carbonate, and we are left with unknown A and unknown B. Alright, we will go on to solve the final two unknown. We will now go to A. We know that A is an aqueous solution, and an aqueous solution usually comprises of your cation, which is a metal, right, and your anion, right, and hence we can very quickly deduce that the cation in A is the X that you have just solved, which is strontium. Alright, so we are only left with what is in our anion. And recall your QA table. Alright, when you are testing with aluminum powder together with your aqueous sodium hydroxide, that makes it a test to test for your nitrate anion. And what is the evidence then to show the presence of your anion? It is the colorless gas that actually turns your then red litmus paper blue, and this gas is actually your ammonia gas, and this ammonia gas of course comes from your nitrate anion. So in this case, your anion will be your nitrate. Hence the salt that is from the combination of a strontium cation and a nitrate anion will be your strontium nitrate. Alright, and there goes your answer over here, which is your strontium nitrate. Lastly, to solve for your unknown B, Again, recall this equation from right here. Alright, you have your unknown B and then adding it to your hydrochloric acid to give you a salt, and then unknown gas, which is we have already solved carbon dioxide. That means that it must be an acid and metal carbonate reaction. Alright, so what then must be the metal carbonate in this? As we mentioned, we have already deduced that the metal in this question is strontium, so that leaves your answer to be strontium carbonate, right? And that will then solve all the questions, all the unknown in this question. Alright, so for part B of this question, write a balanced chemical equation for any one of the reactions in figure 8.1. So if you have looked back at how we have solved this question, we have written a couple of reactions just now, right? Of course, there's one here which is the bubbling of your carbon dioxide into your lime water, and there's a second one which is just a general equation that we have written, is your acid plus metal carbonate reaction. Of course, if you were to ask me, it would definitely be an easier option because we have already gone through in the acid and base and salt chapter of this particular equation right here, which is your acid plus metal carbonate. Alright, and since it was mentioned that it is a hydrochloric acid, and we have already deduced that the metal carbonate is your strontium carbonate, we can then write out this following equation, which is your HCl plus your strontium carbonate. That gives you your strontium chloride plus your carbon dioxide gas plus your H2O. And all we have to do now is to balance the chemical equation. We see that there's one strontium on each side, 2 chloride on the right, so we need to balance up with 2 HCl over here. And then for carbon, there's 1 carbon on each side, 2 hydrogens on each side, and finally 3 oxygen on each side. And now we have our balanced chemical equation.